All right, I'd like to call the Plan Commission to order for the Village of Cottage Grove. It is Wednesday, September 13th at 6:30 p.m. We are holding this in the Village Hall as well as on Zoom. And there is a call-in number for those that choose to use that at all at the top of the agenda. With that, we have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have public appearances. This is public's opportunity to speak. If there is somebody in the room or on Zoom, we just ask that you share your name, your address, your municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes in case we have a number of people who would like to talk. So with that, I will look in the room and on Zoom and see if anybody wants to raise their hand. All right. Next, we'll move to discuss and consider our meeting minutes from the Plan Commission held on August 9th. Any questions, comments, edits in regards to the meeting minutes as presented?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
First and second then. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Then, next item then is a concept presentation from Toby's Auto in regarding the potential vehicle sales at their existing repair facility located at 221 Bonnie Road. This is for feedback only from the Plan Commission. So, Lee? You can either sit or stand, whatever your preference is. Okay. Then we just ask that you press the little button that's got kind of a thing in there and it'll light up red. There you go.
Good evening. My name is Lee Madden. My address is P.O. Box 620434, Middleton, Wisconsin. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Toby Auto Sales, the owner of 221 Bonnie Road. I'm here to give some information on their operation in support of a request of the Plan Commission to consider changes to the existing zoning ordinance to allow in the planned industrial district auto sales as a conditional use. They currently are operating at this location and have since 2005. So they've been there 18 years doing auto repair. They have been in business for 29 years. They're currently doing their auto sales at a property that I own in Madison. So between the two locations, one repairs vehicles, and the second location in Madison, they have a sales lot. So they're a little bit unique as a auto dealer. They primarily purchase damaged vehicles from insurance companies through an auction process. And they specialize in Honda and Toyota vehicles. So they are purchasing those vehicles, doing repairs, reconstruction at the Bonnie Road facility, and then take those vehicles to Madison where State Patrol inspects them. They're detailed and put out for sale to the public on their lot there. They're looking to consolidate those operations in Cottage Grove and therefore giving rise to the need to have auto sales as part of their permitted use at the Bonnie Road facility. There would be a 600 square foot addition to the building considered and an expansion of the parking lot on the south are on the east side of the building. We're here not to really present the details of that, but to get your feedback on the request for an ordinance change for the conditional use of auto sales. Any questions that I can respond to? I was last here in 2005 with Toby's Auto to ask for a revision to the conditional use that they're operating under to fence the yard that is on the west side of the building.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
And things have changed in Cottage Grove, I'll say.
If you haven't been here, well, yes, it has. Aaron, you want to add any staff comments on this?
Yeah, so Lee came in and we spoke a couple weeks ago about this. Basically, he was expressing that they wanted to do the auto sales and was kind of wondering how we could make that happen. And I really see 4 potential options for doing that. The first one, you can just say no if you choose to. The second one would be to pursue a variance for the use. I think that would be hard to prove a hardship that would meet statutory standards in this case, because they do have use of the property now. So I wouldn't really recommend that route. The third option would be to rezone the parcel to planned business where the sales would be allowed. I don't love that option because it's generally an industrial area and we're just kind of spot zoning the one parcel for one user. Generally, we wouldn't want to do that, which kind of brings us to the fourth option that Lee was asking about, which would be potentially allowing auto sales in the planned industrial district, either outright or as a conditional use or as an accessory use. Probably one of the latter two is what I would recommend. That does mean that would be allowed on any parcel that's zoned planned industrial. We have those also in the Commerce Park, but in that area it would be prohibited by the covenants, which would kind of supersede the ordinance change there. So we'd really be looking just in the older business park area here. So before they went too far down the road of drawing up site plans and things like that, we just wanted to get some feedback and get a sense of your comfort level with the sales.
What I have observed over the years is that the use of the business park property has been more open to the public than a normal business park or industrial park, with the distillery, the mini storage, the public works department, parks department operation there. The public is more involved in it than a typical industrial business area. So I think it's consistent with the overall use of the area. It's the specifics as it would affect. I think other properties in this zoning or the other planned industrial zoning locations in Cottage Grove.
I don't see it as a bad idea, and I guess I'd like that option for, make it a conditional use.
Okay, thank you, Don. Other questions or comments from commission members? Alex?
I guess questions to Aaron. I mean, for that area, I mean, what's the mix of businesses that are consumer-based destination businesses? Because I guess what I'm seeing is there's a high potential, right, increased traffic on Bonnie Road, which is through a residential area, right? So we have other business parks that are fed right off the main roads, but that, being, that's a main, I can see that, a lot of people come through that residential area. And so technically it ends right where that island is. But but we've added to your point, we've added destination consumer-based locations, but I don't know the total mix of that area. In changing that across for that whole region, could bring in other businesses, which is good. But again, I'm concerned about that residential street. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Downtrins is probably the biggest public draw that's in there. There's also the daycare further down on Progress. Now, whether they come through the neighborhood or down Vilas to get to that, it's probably a mix of both. I don't know that this would add a lot of traffic. I think it sounds like it's just a few cars out in front, so it's probably
Lee,
a
do you
few
know-
people a week looking, maybe.
And many of their buyers are repeat buyers. You know, they've developed a strong clientele, satisfied clientele on the product that they construct. And so it's not that there would be flags and banners and sales specials. It's, the primary activity is actually the reconstruction of the damaged vehicles. You know, and the sales are, I've probably had, I'm gonna say 6 cars I've purchased from them. You know, and it's, I put in more or less an order. I'm looking for a Honda CRV. Let me know when you get a green one, for instance.
Yeah, I don't think it's, but I think you're saying option 4 is that that whole district gets rezoned, right? Was that?
We would be changing the ordinance to allow the sales in any planned industrial parcel, basically. So
In that whole region. So,
In-
yeah, so any region. So again, it's not the specific, right, we got Dowdrins as a site, yes, there's a couple cars, whatever. But you're opening the door to that whole thing,
potentially. Now,
potentially, and we have traffic, right?
one potential way we could put a little more limitation on it is just to say it's allowed as an accessory use to a repair business.
That way
And then it's
each-
not quite as
each-
wide open.
Each parcel would then have to come in and petition. Right, is that accessory, right? So it's zoned
accessory
specific
would
to the
mean
parcel
it's-
as opposed to the entire business park.
So conditional use, they would have to come in and petition.
Right.
Accessory means there's a main use, and then this is something kind of extra on top of that.
And they would not have to petition for that.
We could do it either way.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the logistics
Yeah.
through it. I mean, I think, I mean, it's obvious, it's great. I mean, leverage the property and grow the business for sure, but I'm just trying to
I think having
plan,
it,
we have
yeah.
plan in our commission name, so I'm trying to plan the whole thing.
yeah, I think having it be both accessory and a conditional use would make sense to me.
Rick, any, from your exposure to other communities, have you seen this before?
I would say it's not uncommon, I guess, to have these types of businesses combined into, like, running both operations out of a single parcel or a single property. I would say I see it frequently in other communities.
Okay.
The only question I really had is, which I don't think is a big one, is just making sure it's consistent with your comprehensive plan, like allowing this as a use, but I don't think that would be an issue here. So the other thing with conditional uses, like Alex was mentioning, you would be allowing it in any industrial district as a conditional use, and just given as a conditional use, but given recent law changes, your sort of discretion with conditional uses has been a little bit more restricted. So just creating standards, I guess, for when you would allow it as a conditional use would be something I would suggest. If there are like certain standards you would want to have applicable to all of these types of businesses, it's best to just put that directly in the ordinance.
Just to read, you said all of our industrial parks. So it's not just like this, I keep thinking this property area right around Bonnie Road in Progress Drive. It's gonna include anything that we've labeled industrial. We're changing that status.
Anything that has that zoning district, correct?
So you're right, that is a comprehensive plan implication.
The only thing that,
No.
the state law just says that we can't, any zoning ordinance modification can't be inconsistent with your comprehensive plan. So that was just the only thought I had. I don't think that's an issue. I mean, it seems pretty, yeah,
It has, but this eyes
Yeah.
checked,
Yeah.
right.
I think if it is an accessory use to something that's otherwise primarily industrial, it would still be consistent with the comp plan. It's not that different than Dowdrins has their beer garden as a kind of accessory to the distillery itself.
Lee, how many cars do they, on a monthly basis, do they move, would you say?
I didn't get a number, but if I were to say it, I would go 15 to 20.
Okay, and how many are in the lot that's in Madison at one time?
Their sales display area is 7 stalls, and then they have an inventory that has been brought in for final detailing and inspection. They have control of 26 stalls at the facility on Fish Hatchery Road.
Okay. And we don't know how many they are thinking about for this site, similar or, I mean, because it,
There's, on the east side of the building, there's currently a parking area for 7 stalls. And that would be expanded to add 14 or 21 stalls, which would be for customer parking and display vehicles in the front of the building. The side would be used for what I would call work in process, where there are vehicles that have come in or are waiting parts and are placed outside.
I don't see it as any kind of significant big impact for that area.
The one thing I note, it's active only 6 days a week. State law doesn't allow car sales on Sundays.
unless you don't sell them on Saturday, I think. Which I've seen places do that, or a different day. Other,
I guess I'm not overly opposed to the concept. I am more concerned about that particular business, and I would venture to say if you drove by there right now, there's more than 7 cars in the front of the building. There's a John Deere chopper on the side of the building. It's been there for probably 3 years. In the back of the building, I mean, are they going to clean it up? If and again, maybe it's I shouldn't be bringing this up, but it kind of looks like a junkyard presently, and I just don't want to magnify that worse than it already is. I go by there quite a bit, and they literally park cars in that there are no stalls per se in the front of that building right now. They just park one in front of the other, and then the third car in, and you have to move 2 cars to get to the third car.
so with that, Troy, then maybe this would actually perhaps clean that up.
You could have that as part of the conditional use. You could
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
wordage in there to prevent that.
Yeah, I just don't want to magnify what's already going on there. It's an eyesore, frankly, in my opinion. But nobody cares what I think some days.
I've made a similar comment to Toby to say, you've got to run a different operation when you have your customers here. So I think there would be natural pressure to improve it, improve the, I'll say, appearance and cleanliness and organization.
Right.
There are 2 brothers that one does the repair and one does the sales. The sales guy is much more organized, and he would be coming aboard.
Other questions from commission members or concerns?
I guess I'm just wondering on the process, so we'd probably need public hearing or something, like there's be a couple meetings before it's, like it'll have to be noticed or
Yeah, we'd have to do a notice. I think because the application's coming from an individual, we'd notice the properties within 400 feet. That could happen at the next meeting if the accompanying site plan is ready to go and all that. So
Yeah,
it
and
could happen next time.
schedule would be to complete the improvements within 12 months. So that would certainly be an accommodating timeframe.
Any concerns from commission members other than have been voiced thus far? Because obviously Lee is looking for, can I move forward without, a big roadblock?
I support it, so.
I say move forward.
I think from the questions I've heard, that's the conclusion that I will give to Toby and his brother.
Okay.
And it, again, open for input and feedback as the review process and the ordinance amendment goes forward.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for your consideration.
All right, thanks, Lee. Next, we have a concept presentation from New Tech Painting regarding potential development plans on the Metcalf property bounded by the West Cottage Grove Road and Sandpiper Galloway Terrace and Court Crossing. Again, this is for feedback from the commission only. Steve?
Yeah, I'm just Steve Schulfer with Sketchworks Architecture, 2501.
Oh, you gotta push the button back on in the middle. It's gotta be red around there. There you go.
Steve Schulfer with Sketchworks Architecture, 2501 Parmenter Street in Middleton. I'm an architect helping out Dave Hensiak and the New Tech Painting organization, looking at a site on County Highway BB, looking to redevelop and move his business there, along with some satellite uses, retail, office space. The site plan that you see up in front of you is really two parts. The right-hand side of the site, what we're proposing to do is relocate New Tech Painting, and that would consist of a development somewhere around 16 to 18,000 square feet of building size. It would include parking for his employees, the vehicles that are used for his business, and then access into the shop area for his business. I think many of you are probably familiar with this existing location down the street. We've got two different buildings. This is a concept. I want to stress that this is not any sort of final proposal. It's a concept that we've been playing with and laying out on the site. When it comes time to make a more formal presentation, obviously it could change from this, but wanted to get your reaction to this development tonight. The second building that you see on the north side, the eastern half of the site, is more utilitarian in nature. There's a satellite business that would function with maintenance, care, and things like that, more of a shop usage, if you will. And then the office component we've decided to put on the south side of the site facing the highway, and thought that was a good site layout. You'll see that it's pretty generous land, looking to introduce some screening elements on the north side of the property. We think that's going to be important. And then truck access off of the streets there you see. On the left-hand or west side of the site, that's going to be a multi-tenant retail and or office use. Currently, we're showing at about 10,000 square feet in total. We've got layouts that could generate up to about 13,000 square feet. So we're going to be in that window someplace. We're playing around with what's the appropriate amount of parking versus square footage and trying to get those ratios just right. So this is where we put our pencils down. So looking at shared stormwater usage, so trying to integrate some of those uses to maximize the site potential. And we'll work with Aaron and village staff, of course, to finalize any sort of zoning details and make sure that our final presentation is sufficient. It's currently in a PUD, and I believe this is an approved use, or both of these are approved uses in that PUD. So, Dave, I don't know if you wanted to add anything more to that, but in terms of your business use or anything, I suspect many people might already know.
Right, so you probably all know me from a couple doors down. You know, I love Cottage Grove, I live in Lodi, but if I did have to move, I would move here. I really, you know, I find this is my, you know, my main, like, compared to Lodi, I feel like this is more home to me, so I want to stay in Cottage Grove. And we know, with me giving up my location, it's important that I have frontage, because that's what drives my company. And as you see, I have made that place look a million times better. So with this plan, I promise you that that building will look 100 times better than that building. So aesthetically, we'll make sure it looks to par what you guys want. But we mainly renovate hotels around the country, and that's for Hilton and Marriott. That's our main source. of income, but we also do stuff for Epic and Zimbrix, stuff like that. So we do have some bigger equipment, but we will keep it indoors in the big shop. We won't leave it outside like we do here. So we'll be conscious about keeping all that stuff inside. And then, like he was saying, that for the screening in the back for the neighbors, we'll make sure we make that, we'll make that right so that nobody has any issues with us, so. But, with this new plan, I look forward to the move. It's gonna be a big jump for me, so. Anybody have any questions for us?
Aaron, any comments first that may answer some questions?
Yeah, so obviously we've seen this site a few times before. Kevin Metcalf had an approved plan way back when for kind of a commercial mix, somewhat similar to this, I think. That never went forward. We had Casey's gas station come and go. And as Steve said, currently it's a PUD specific for Metcalf's townhouse condo project. So it would have to be rezoned out of the PUD back into a planned business district, which is what it was before. I do think this both halves of this would fit in that district. Dave's business is a little bit different, but it's not really industrial. They're not actually doing any of the work on site. They're just kind of loading the trucks and taking them out. So I think, the main concern is just the aesthetics and how it kind of blends in with the neighborhood. And Dave's right, obviously, they've made the building down the street look a lot better, and he makes buildings look better for a living. That's what he does. So I think he's going to want this one to look nice too. So, but because there was a rezone and because it was different than the most recent approved plan, we just wanted to, again, bring the concept in before they get too far down the road.
You're right, it is about the 17th thing that's been on that lot for a concept, but yeah, I'm super impressed with what the whole property, Old Chase property looks like and what you've done to it.
I appreciate it.
Really cleaned everything up, and I really like that, and I'm confident that, like you said, this would
It'd be a
top notch.
It would be
Yeah.
top-notch facility for sure.
Other questions from commission members?
Yeah, I'm really interested in this layout and the potential here. I mean, it's a block every time you drive or walk by it, you think, boy, that looks like a great spot for something. So I guess my only thought is with so many people living nearby, they probably want to walk to, stuff that could be there. So making sure we have good pedestrian access to, the multi-tenant building. I mean, that's my only comment so far. The screening looks great next to the residential properties. That would be, kind of my main concern, what they might look at from behind. But it looks like there's a lot of landscaping back there. And, if we keep up with that, I think, that's my main comments. So thank you.
I think the concept at this point looks nice. I think it'd be a good location for that. Impressed with what they've done. Again, the Chase building has been stated before. So.
All right, thank you, Troy. I think you keep plugging along then, it sounds like to me. It looks like a nice use for this property.
Yeah, I've driven by that property 1,000 times thinking, who's gonna build on that property someday? Here I am. So it'll look nice.
All right.
What's your timeline,
Well,
approximately?
what do we have? Next Tuesday? Too soon? I'm a very impatient person, as you see with that place. I like to get things done quick, but in reality, I guess, our builder's not here, but,
I think what we're targeting to do is try to get through this process, through the rezoning, through our design process, and get ready for spring construction. So that's ultimately our goal.
That seems reasonable to me. All right. We look forward to seeing you back.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, then, we have discussed draft zoning ordinance amendment related to the maximum lot coverage of building coverage. It's a lot of coverage. Paved surface setbacks, parking requirements in residential districts. Aaron?
Yeah, so this is all stuff we talked about before, but just drafted up as an actual ordinance amendment so you can see the language before we go to the next step of scheduling a public hearing. Because we've talked about it before, I wasn't going to go through the whole thing in detail, but if there's questions on any of it, I'm happy to go over any part of it. Otherwise, we'll schedule a hearing and bring it back, and we may try to incorporate this other auto sale change in this at the same time, as long as we're making the changes.
Okay. Questions from commission members, comments?
Thanks, Erin, for all your work researching all the comparable communities and preparing this. So thank you.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing this again. Future agenda items?
I think both of our conceptual presenters will keep moving forward, whether that's next month or not. I guess we'll see how fast they can draw stuff up. Also, we'll have the plat for the rest of the duplex lots at Shady Grove. We approved the zoning at the last meeting. So this would be the plat to create those lots. And that's what I know about at this point.
And they also require, or asked them to come back and kind of present what it's gonna look like too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Right?
At Shady Grove?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we only approved the two lots, but yeah, what's the rest of that layout gonna look like? I think the commission wanted to see that.
Yeah, and I think even at the board meeting, they had more information last time than they did at the plan commission. So,
Okay.
On screening, I don't know if we want to get more specific on, I see the new bank. A lot of their air intakes are just sheet metal goosenecks, which they could have used like a louvered air intake that would, 1901's a good shot. I don't know why they came up with doing that, it looks ugly. We also need to talk to someone with the Grace Coffee Place. None of those units and stuff is screened. The Dunkin' Donuts units aren't screened. The Noodles units aren't screened. So all that stuff needs the roof stuff to be screened, unless we want to change our ordinance.
No.
So that may be another item then. Thank you, Don.
Well, that's where my eyes go, because that's where
Yes,
that's what I do. So
Yeah. I saw the Grace one and brought that one up. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, second, non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. I was waiting.